Segment 2, Golden Black Live. He's always working. That's what I like about Morgan Burke. He's always working about. But welcome to the show, Morgan Burke. Stacy Clarity, you are here for one more segment, and then on to both you guys will be on your ways to Huntington, West Virginia tomorrow for you, Morgan. Well, I guess tomorrow for Stacy as well. Different mode of transportation, but the Boilermakers, it's a big one, is on Sunday.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to see where we are. You know, we're 2 years into the change process. You know, we're not happy, you know, with 4 victories, and yet if you will stand back and look at the kind of the underlying performance metrics offensively and defensively, you know we closed the gap. But we didn't get over the hump. We had probably 5 games last year in the fourth quarter you were within shouting distance. You didn't close any of them out. And that is the piece they're missing right now. And they are prepared, I know that, from a teaching standpoint. I think Dwayne's got them in phenomenal shape. It'll be hot for both teams, so that'll have some bearing. So at the end of the day, you have these ebbs and flows in games, and it's how they respond. Something negative will happen during the course of the game. You got to respond to it, and you know, we haven't shown that in the last several years, and that's kind of the signal that I'm looking for. If you get down, can you come back and score, and show a certain resiliency that you're going to make a play in the fourth quarter to win a game. And so, you know, I know he's put all the eggs in one basket. To me, it's a big basket. It's a full year's body of work. But you want to come out tomorrow and show people that, hey, we are physically prepared to compete. We're well coached. We've got a good game plan. You know, I think crazy things can happen, either for you or against you. But we're glad to start playing, because we've worked hard for 11 months now, since the end of the, well, 11 months is too much, but 9 months since the end of the season. Yeah. And you kind of want to take stock against, you know, guys with different colored jerseys on.
You beat me to the eggs basket.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have done it. But, you know,
but generally, though, I think that, you know, we've kind of had a debate within the office, like, where is this game in terms of importance in the program kind of thing? I mean, where do you view this as an incredibly important game? I mean, obviously some people are. I mean,
well, I think everybody is, because there's that anticipation that builds when you're trying to get back to where you want to be. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Tiller always said, you know, the next game's your most important game. Yeah. And I liked what he used to say. It's you only play 12 times, so they're all important. Yeah. And, you know, you're going to go on the road, and we're as Darryl has said, and he's right, we are a young team, but we're not an inexperienced team. Yeah. And so, you know, we've gone into Nebraska. I mean, I don't think the hostility of the venue will have any bearing on the kids, but you still have to make some plays. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's like anything else. You hit a shot, you catch a pass, and all of a sudden heads are up and you start moving. And that's the piece. It's hard to figure out when that wick's going to get lit. I mean, who would have thought, you know, you go back to 97, I know it seems like a long time ago, but, you know, but for Leo Perez blocking that kick and Colvin running it back and then onside kick and Ed Watson eventually puts it in the end zone, that team was an unsteady team. And they were coming off a rebuilding process from Coletto and we've gone to Tiller, and they weren't sure. And all of a sudden things went for them, and boom, the confidence level peaked. So, you know, tomorrow is the next opportunity to, as Coach Tiller used to always say, you're one game away from turning around. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow or Sunday.
So, I cannot get used to the fact that game is on Sunday. But the best thing about it is, we had a question about scheduling. You've got played Marshall in 2012. First Big Ten team to go there. You obviously were involved with this process of getting this on the schedule. Tell us what you can.
It's just hard to get home and away series because of particularly as you go to 9 Big Ten games. And, you know, when we had the separation with Notre Dame, we'll still play them 6 times over the next 10 years. We said we really want to introduce some different people. Huntington is a drivable distance for our fans. I'm told by the Alumni Association there's over 500 people coming to the pregame tailgate, so somebody's coming into Huntington. You know, we're going to do Nevada later in the decade. You know, people haven't been to Reno, they might enjoy that. You know, we did that. We've been to Oregon. We've been to, so you want to introduce. We got Vanderbilt on the schedule. That's an odd one because they're going to play us in 19. We don't return the game until 2029. I hope we're all still cooking alive here. So
that's debatable on mine.
It's the Big Ten has agreed that we going forward, beginning with exception of some grandfathered games, we have a couple of those on our schedule, that you'll play one of the group of 5 conferences and 2 additional games. We got Missouri.
Yeah.
So I think we've put some different teams in the schedule I hope our fans will like. But again, scheduling is challenging to get all the pieces to fit.
Yeah. You obviously see a different side of Daryl Hazel than the rest of us because you're his boss, and yet you also have a close relationship. What keeps you convinced that everything is going in the right direction from your perspective, from a management perspective? He's a very organized guy and all of that, but what do you think?
Well, he's very consistent in his message from the time we interviewed him in terms of what he was going to do and how he's going to go about doing it. Jim Tressel, when we were going through the hiring process, probably knows Daryl the best, said Daryl is deliberate but decisive, and I've seen that. He's one of the few coaches I've ever had in any sport who will actually show me at the beginning of the year what his wish list is for recruiting.
Yeah.
Now, you're not going to see that, but I get to see it. And I would tell you last year that of the 20, it was the 26, I guess, that we brought on, I'll bet you 18 to 20 of them are on that list. So they're getting the kids they're targeting. Now you say, all right, are they any good? Well, we learned a little bit last year. Bentley, pretty good, but not a highly ranked guy. I think we'll learn a little bit more this year because, Markel Jones will play a little bit. Kirk Barron will play a little bit. We'll see if Yancey bounces back. Marcus Bailey is one that you'll probably see in that second group. So that, to me, will begin to further validate the recruiting process. And I like the way he's gone about putting his staff together. The composition of that staff, all of them have been winners, either as players or as coaches, some at the professional level. So, Purdue, when we go out and recruit, we have the advantage of saying, we're going to give you 2 plans. We're going to give you an NFL plan, and we're going to give you your graduation plan. And we got a lot of examples of kids who've graduated, and they've graduated and gone on to the NFL. And so I think that's been positive to see that he's been able to recruit. He talked about the state of the Purdue, the Midwest region. I think 41% of the kids last year were in that footprint. So the things that he said, he was going to drive academics, his A players manual. They were up to 2.9 as a team. Yeah, they were 2.77 when he came in, so they weren't awful, but they've gotten better. So all those little things lead you to believe that the man has a plan and he's executing the plan. We have to be with him and support him as he puts this into a different orbit.
When you talk about maybe being optimistic for this season, and I think optimism abounds right now, but do you put a number on what success is for this group this year, or how are you going to
my success is 12 and 0. Come on. I think when you worry about outputs, you miss the boat. Athletics is all about making sure you worry about the inputs. A great football player, a great golfer, they're concentrating on their fundamentals, their technique. They do it right, it's going to go where they want it to go. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes, now it's part of we all keep score, so I understand that.
Sure.
But if you get the kids so tied up on the final score, they'll play tight. I saw a couple teams, they can remain nameless, last night that I thought had good talent that were tight. We can't go over there and be tight. You got to let it fly. That's the worst thing we could do tomorrow. Is if Austin throws a pick, so what? Drew Brees threw a lot of them, came back and got the next one. Kyle Orton did the same thing. Curtis Painter did the same thing. So Stacy, I'll look at I looked last year very carefully at where they were offensively and defensively in all the categories. I would say to you on offense, we didn't throw the ball vertically. You mentioned that in the first section. That hurt us as caused the linebackers to come down in the box and create all kinds of problems for us. And then I don't think on the defensive side, we had way too many times when it was 3rd and 7 and we didn't get off the field.
Yeah.
So if you looked at 2 metrics, I'd say you keep showing improvement in the other areas, you'll and those 2 pop up, you ought to have a level of success.
Question about ticket sales. Obviously they're never unless the stadium is full, they're never where you want them to be. You drop prices. You had a marked increase in student ticket sales. A few months into this, what has been your analysis of how that's gone?
You got a lot of people, if I can use the analogy, they're from Missouri.
Yeah.
Show me and I'll be there, and I understand that. student numbers, we thought we could take a number that was about 3,200 and boost it to 7,000. I know earlier in the week we're at 6,300 and
Right.
still growing. What is as impressive is all of the 4 student groups, the Ross Aid Brigade, Paint Crew, Block Party, and Gold Mine, are virtually all sold out. Ross Aid Brigade not, but they have 2,600 members versus 19. Those groups are what create the energy. I mean, the Paint Crew to me is a model of how you want a student organization to operate. So I think that we're on the right track with the students. With the general public, the new Family Value Pack has sold 1,800 season tickets. So we were trying to find some things, particularly in the Lafayette and Tippecanoe County area. We know wages haven't, jumped off the scale. Try to get the price points back down where you get families in there, and that's been successful. Patio continues to be something that people enjoy. So, I don't, you're going to walk in and see some holes at Indiana State. I'm not, and I don't like it. It doesn't help the budget. But at the end of the day, if we produce the way we're capable of producing, the people will be back. There were times late in Gene's tenure, we had 9,000 people in Mackey. It's going to be hard to get a ticket in Mackey this year. So you got to ride it. You can't chide the fans. I understand the disappointment in a lot of people who followed us for a long time. Our football program, unfortunately, is like this, and it has been for decades. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to change when I'm here. I'm not convinced that if we can get Darryl moving in the right direction, we will have minimized the length of time between the successful periods. But unfortunately, that's been part of Purdue's history.
Yeah, and look at that. We've talked before about just the nature of fans today and the ability. It truly is a what have you done for me lately world. But you also have all of the the world of high definition. All those things tie into that, and we're going to hit facilities and what you're doing there, but that presents an extra challenge with all this.
Well, it does, and I think that's why you're going to see the trend towards, and I think you already have seen it in the newer venues that have been built, Baylor and Minnesota. They're going to be smaller venues with more options and real good connectivity. And we'll have cellular coverage, knock on wood. The equipment's in. I hope it works.
I've seen them out at the
I hope
tower.
it works. I'm praying it works because I've been promising for a couple of years.
So all my text messages are going to go through.
I know you'll get AT&T and Verizon. All carriers are eligible to come in as the third parties actually operating the service. So if you have a T-Mobile or another carrier, Sprint, you might have a little trouble this year. But that's a matter of the carriers getting on board. So, but you're right. It's easy to sit home, and then it's 93 degrees, and you got 5 screens and the beverage of your choice. It's kind of tempting.
With the boarding pass, if you can just clarify, so it's like $99 or whatever it is. So does the student get it, and then it can go to any venue,
yes,
or, any event? So I guess if if a kid wants to get into Mackey, he buys the boarding pass and he's in Mackey, then maybe he doesn't have to go to football, or she.
No. The
I should have
interesting
said
thing is
she. Obviously, I am.
You know what you should
all
be?
for it.
You should be in the ticket area. Because you think of the crazy question.
Yeah.
It's a good question because we won't sell out. We won't sell out in football. But if you have 6,300 boarding passes sold, we know that the student allocation Mackey's roughly 4,000. The Paint Crew is capped at 2,800.
Okay.
That means there'll be 1,200 tickets that will go into a lottery. And they actually are building a point system so that as they, because their tickets go to them electronically. We got them into the 21st century. We're trying to get our belts there.
Yeah.
So we'll know what games they came to, and I think they're playing with a point system where maybe those people get a little head start over the lottery. That's how it'll work. You won't have any trouble with women's basketball. They'll have plenty of inventory. Volleyball will be in the same boat because you only have 325, or in the gold mine, I think they allocate 400. So some of it will be lottery driven, but you want to get a ticket guaranteed, then you join student organization.
Yeah.
So those 2,800,
I got you.
they got it. The other 1,200 will come from the pool of students who bought the boarding pass.
So the Paint Crew's already sold their 2,800?
Yeah, they're sold out. The block party and volleyball is sold out, and the gold mine, women's basketball, which we've never had much luck at, is at 325, and their previous high is 150. I hope they all show. That's been a missing link.
Right.
But the Ross Aid Brigade had 2,600 as of earlier this week. The previous high, which I think was 2 or 3 years ago, was 19.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting. I think
They just
that
need to
whole
show up,
process works.
obviously.
Yeah.
They
Well,
just
you
need to
got
get there, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I hope my daughter got her Paint Crew membership taken care of. I know my son did, so that's good. Last question on you, just on looking at this opportunity for this year, reasonable expectations to what's your week in, week out? Is it expectations as football team? Is it basic competition based, or
I really would like to avoid the peaks and valleys. We said that last year. I just don't like these games where one game you play close, the next game you just disintegrate. We just can't do that. Great teams and programs that are trying to grow have to show a level of consistency week in and week out, and we didn't do that last year. And John Shoup has a very interesting slide where he takes a number of the offensive metrics and he shows them by September, October, and November. And in September we were like this. October we actually performed at a very high level,
Right.
and then we fell off. And that's the stuff you can't do. And, November is when you got to get hot. That's and we have a schedule in November that could be conducive. So you don't want to. You just got to keep going. And again, worry about how well you play. The outcomes will take care of themselves.
All right. Well, we will take a 2-minute break and send Stacy to off to what she has to do next. Bring Brian
I'm going
in.
home.
Oh, you're going home.
No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding. I
Okay.
don't know what I'm doing.
Okay. And we'll look forward to our third and final segment on Golden Black Live.